Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Long before comic book adaptations were all the rage, Hollywood looked at the pages of the daily newspapers for ideas. Comic strips like Blondie and Dennis the Menace became sitcoms. Peanuts kicked off a string of iconic animated Charlie Brown specials. And then there was the Saturday Evening Post strip called Hazel, which became a hit TV show on NBC. But one of the greatest adaptations of a comic strip was in the 1960s when the Addams Family, a gothic comedy inspired by one-panel cartoons in the New Yorker, written and done by Charles Addams, made quite the splash when it hit the small screen. It premiered in 1964, and ever since then, it has not really ever gone away. Until the TV show came out, the characters did not have names. Charles Addams didn't feel like naming any of the creepy, charming characters in his one-panel cartoons. When the show was greenlit for production, Addams and producers came up with the names for this entire clan. The character of Gomez almost had a completely different name that for some reason doesn't seem right when you hear it. When brainstorming the names for the patriarch of the family, they proposed two options, one being Rapelli and the other being Gomez. The final decision for that name was given to star John Astin, and we know now that he made the right choice. And talking about John Astin, it's hard to picture him playing any other member of the family. He initially tried out for the role of Lurch, who at that time was yet unnamed. He could not quite envision himself in that role, and thankfully the producers saw the potential of him as the father. He was an early casting decision, and then the other members of the family auditioned with him for the roles of Morticia, Fester, Lurch, and Pugsley. Ted Cassidy played two roles in the series. While he's best known for playing Lurch, Cassidy also lent a hand to the series. He literally did this by playing Thing. Though the show aired just as television was blossoming from black and white to full color, The Addams Family appropriately was filmed in a gothic grayscale. The producers felt that this show felt at home in a shadowy black and white atmosphere. Plus, they really worried about color ruining the vibe of the show, as the walls of their home were bright pink, which is something you never know by looking at the black and white episodes. The sets they used on the show had been recycled. Some of those home interiors came courtesy of the Debbie Reynolds movie, The Unsinkable Molly Brown, which hit theaters a few months before The Addams Family premiered. Both of these productions were done by MGM. The Addams were the first TV family to have a home computer. A couple of years later, Bruce Wayne would utilize his Bat computer in the Batcave. But the very first family to own a PC seen on TV was the Univac on this show. Gomez would often be seen chomping on a cigar, and it's no wonder of this, because Dutch Master Cigars was a sponsor of the show. As was his practice, Gomez put out the lit cigars in the breast pocket of his coat. Thus, the prop makers lined the suit pocket with asbestos. Now, where would the Addams Family be without the brilliant theme song that went along with it? That tune was the work of Vic Mizzy. At the time of him producing the song, the studio was really reluctant to spend the cash that was needed to hire multiple singers for the song. So Mizzy multi-tracked his voice to perform as a trio. All this heard in the opening credits. The interior of the Addams house was inspired by the real-life Manhattan apartment of Charles Addams, the creator of the series. It said that in his apartment it contained suits of armor, an antique crossbow collection, and other really strange oddities that you wouldn't see in just the normal household. It said that Jackie Coogan was originally rejected as Uncle Fester. He went home, shaved his head, and did his own Fester makeup with a costume, came back, walked in, and won the part. According to quite a few cast members, when news broke that the series was going to be canceled and not renewed for a third season, which was a surprise to everybody, most of the eccentric props and furnishings from that set were stolen. The whereabouts of most of these items have never been determined. The one exception to this is that after the show was canceled, the producers did give Morticia's oval-backed wicker chair to Carolyn Jones as a memento. Jones kept this chair in her bedroom for the rest of her life. The leads in the show, Carolyn Jones and John Astin, decided on their own to give Gomez and Morticia a grand romance. They viewed this as an antidote to the virtually asexual parents that were then common in television shows. Now, Carolyn Jones is best remembered during her entire career for this role of Morticia. But Carolyn didn't always have it very easy. Throughout her yo-yoing career, she battled through health issues, typecasting, multiple marriages, and at times, even poverty. In her early home setting, life was pretty tense. Her parents' relationship was fraught with tension, and she felt like continually that everything was ready to explode. She had an agoraphobic mother who was unable to provide for her daughters after her husband left, and so she went on to be raised by her maternal grandparents. As she grew up, she found out she was fascinated by Hollywood. She soon became obsessed with trying to find her way into Hollywood. She quickly came to the realization that finding success in Hollywood was a pretty tough deal. She found that talent at an audition wasn't the only thing that they were looking for. She realized at that point that she needed to alter her appearance to meet the film industry standards. Her transformation proved both expensive and painful. For the sake of her career, she opted to undergo a complete makeover, which included plastic surgery, dyeing her hair blonde, losing her Texas accent, altering her walk and posture, and buying fashionable clothes. This metamorphosis that she went through changed things dramatically. Shortly after her makeover, a talent scout noticed her performing on stage at a theater. At long last, she broke into the film industry. But in doing so, she created some real resentments that she harbored all her life. Because before she made all the changes, some of these people wouldn't give her a second glance. But now that she changed, they were knocking at her door. Eventually, she was offered this time-stamped role as Morticia. Take a look back at this very good show that's really fun to watch. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.